Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Wealth and Wisdom. We continue today learning about the intricacies of trade and commerce during the Islamic Golden Age. In 750, the first dynasty ruling the Islamic world, the Umayyads of Damascus, 661 to 750, collapsed following a revolution in the Khorasan region, in modern-day Iran. However, it would take another 10 years or so for the next dynasty, the Abbasids, to truly establish itself. After consolidating his political leadership, Caliph Jafar al-Mansur quickly laid the foundations for the new Abbasid state by shifting the center of the Islamic Empire towards the east, in the heart of Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq. More broadly, the geographical location of Iraq made it a land bridge between Iran, India, Central Asia and China on one side, and the Arabian Peninsula, Syria, Egypt and the West on the other. Thus, under suitable conditions, the inhabitants of Iraq were able to become the effective intermediaries of world commerce, being at the intersection of multiple land and sea trade routes, and that made it a center of transit trade for surrounding regions. According to the economic historian Michael G. Moroney, the major overland routes intersecting in central Iraq in the late Sasanian period radiated northeastwards through Hamadan and Ray to Khorasan and the Silk Road to China, eastwards along the lower Tigris to Khuzestan, Fars, and Sistan, southwards through Bahrain and the Yamama to Sasanian Yemen, westwards from Al-Hira across the Syrian desert to Gerasa and Egypt, and to the northwest along the Royal Road east of the Tigris from Daskara to Kirkuk, Altun Kupri, and Erbil, then west across the Khazir River and the Tigris at Gomel to Nusaybin, and Byzantine Mesopotamia. A transit route went through Iraq from the Gulf to Byzantine Mesopotamia. Major new port facilities were constructed at Basra and served as arteries for commercial transport, and neighboring Abula on the Arabian Gulf was the terminus of seaborne trade to India and China. From these seaports, merchants could proceed to Oman and Yemen, from whence they could embark on one of two major trade routes, westward to East Africa, Zanzibar, and the Comoros Islands, or eastward to India, Malaysia, and China. These overland routes continued to be used in early Islamic times, with the most important being the Khorasan Road to northeastern Iran. The Khuzestan Road from Basra to Kerman was used in the 9th century by Jewish merchants who went as far as India. Also, new trade routes connected Basra and Kufa with the Hijaz, went up the Euphrates River to Raqqa with overland connections to Syria, went up the Tigris River to Mosul displacing the old Royal Road, and then overland to Nazibin, brought Russian merchants via the Volga and Caspian overland from the south shore of the Caspian to Baghdad, and connected Al-Basra by sea with East Africa, and the Red Sea. From the late 8th century, Baghdad, Madinat al-Salam, the new capital of the Abbasids, developed as the economic nexus of the network just described. But the image of trade converging on and radiating out from this great metropolis should be qualified by noting the existence of multidirectional exchange between all of Iraq's urban commercial centers along with transit trade through Iraq. Regarding the capital, the Caliph al-Mansur himself laid the first brick on the west bank of the Tigris, and to build it, he employed 100,000 architects, artisans, smiths, carpenters and other laborers. They worked for 4 years, 762 to 766, and its total cost amounted to 4,883,000 dirhams. Destined to be a major urban center, By the 9th century, Baghdad covered over 25 square miles and boasted a population approaching 500,000 people. When Jafar al-Mansur founded this round city to become his capital, which until then had been located in Damascus, he was fully aware that he had made the center of the Islamic world, the caliphate, coincide with the center of the world. Indeed, sources clearly show that the location of the site was chosen, not just for its defensive advantages, but also for its economic potential. Tabari attributes to its founder the following words: "This is a good place for an army camp. Here's the Tigris, with nothing between us and China, and on it arrives all that the sea can bring, as well as provisions from the Jazeera, Armenia, and surrounding areas. Further, there is the Euphrates on which can arrive everything from Syria, Al-Raqqa, and surrounding areas." In another passage, as he was looking for a suitable site for his new capital, he was advised to go to a place called Barima, which was known for its convenience and healthiness. After spending the night there, he rejected the site and said, it could not support the army, the people, and the various groups. "What I want is a place that is comfortable for the people and congenial for them as well as for me, a place where the prices will not become too high for them, and the food supplies will not prove too hard to obtain. If I live in a place where it is impossible to import anything by land or sea, the prices will be high, goods will be scarce, and shortages in the food supply will cause hardship for the people." It is hard to be certain that such words were actually spoken, but they reflect the thinking of the caliph and his advisors when they see the advantages of the site in Baghdad. And as indicated by medieval Arab sources, the direction and dispersion of Abbasid trade clearly made the Dar al-Islam a veritable emporium of merchandise, a vast trade mart produced by the Islamic administration's intense commitment to promoting mercantile activities. A massive international trading network rapidly spread out under the early Abbasids. Actively promoted by the Caliphate's government itself, the resulting commercial achievements thereby became the capstone of long-standing productive early Arab trade. Considerable quantities of articles destined for mass consumption, textiles and victuals were exchanged between distant provinces of the vast empire. There can be no doubt that this increase in the volume of trade ushered in a flourishing period for many. Industrial production was growing steadily, prices and salaries were rising, the demand for skilled labor was considerable and the population of the urban areas increased more and more. In other words, the major trends of social and economic development in the Islamic world were exactly contrary to those characteristics of the history of Europe during the same period, which, at the time, was going through a period of population decline along with a decline in trade. Founded upon a powerful legacy of mercantile tradition and lent structure by the economic tenets of Islam, an intricate trading network that had begun in pre-Islamic Arabia, was impelled by the early Muslims, and culminated, in its full fruition, under the early Abbasid dynasts. The result was a vibrant economic outcome that would ultimately empower the Dar al-Islam to forge the most far-reaching and dynamic commercial empire that the world to date had known. If you learned something, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time. Assalamu alaikum.